Thank you for joining us. This conversation is continued from our last episode. You can find that link in the description. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to Shoot the Breeze, a podcast that celebrates the messiness of life, relationships, and Christianity. It's creatively titled because it will be just us shooting the breeze, sometimes with guests, while occasionally saying something important. We hope you enjoy.
My job is to be an add-on in addition to what they're learning at home. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't see that as much anymore.
Like a supplemental vitamin.
It should be a supplemental vitamin. You know all about vitamins.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. No, it should be a supplement, but not all the times is it. So how do I?
You're the fish oil pill to their salmon. Got it. Right?
Sure. I guess.
That was like the only vitamin that came to my mind. Lacey and I had a doctor's appointment this morning.
Fish oil pill.
Lacey and I had a doctor's appointment. That was one of the recommendations was more fish oil.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
No, you're right. Like being that supplemental thing, to what it actually is the parent's job to
100%. Yeah, no, and I've said this to kids numerous times, but like I wish that I didn't have a job. Mm-hmm. Like that, it's as simple as that. Like I wish that it was still to this day the parent's job to be the pretty much the one and only person or people that are speaking into their lives.
Yeah.
I mean that is the healthiest way of doing things. And they are the ones that spend the most time with their kids.
Do you view equipping parents as part of your job at all?
I do, and I fail at it.
Oh, okay.
If I'm being completely honest with you, I have not done a single like parental equipping since I've been here, and that's wrong.
Do you think you should try harder and do better?
Probably.
I
know.
No, because I can imagine. It's like, not only are you dealing with youth, but then, man, I'm just remembering back to some of the things parents said to us. But we would be like, we weren't even parents when we were in youth ministry, but it'd be like, well, what would you do? And it's like, I wouldn't beat them. Like, That's one thing I wouldn't do. Well, you don't know my kid. Okay.
You do it long enough and you start realizing that, like, yes, everybody and everything, every person is different in some way, but there's a lot of similarities.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially if you're their parent.
That's right.
Maybe.
Well, the apple doesn't fall from
exactly.
the tree, huh?
What is your, like, as being a dad, husband, youth pastor, church staff member, you needing ministry yourself, like, how do you balance, like, what does that look like to you to balance all these roles and tensions, things always pulling at you? Like, what does that look like for you and Shelby?
I mean, we have always said that our marriage is going to come first. And I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it. Like Shelby and I have met up with you and Lacey and like got counseling for our marriage to walk through some certain things, because I mean, no one is perfect. And inside of the position that I'm in, like it can, the weight and the stress from other things, whether it be kids or whether it be parents of kids or whatever, can start almost feeling like it's pushing your spouse out a little bit, because that is taking up all your brain space. And so meeting up with you guys, like it's a great way to bring your headspace back to what really matters. And like, my first priority is to Shelby. Yeah. My second priority is to my kids. The rest of my priorities are here at the church and being the youth pastor, going to the games and the graduations and this, that, and the other.
Oh, that's
but
right. You guys just finished a busy season.
We did. We just
forgot about that.
finished
Yeah.
a busy week last week. Yeah. And then we're going into mission trip in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. What? Okay. So, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is one of the cool things I appreciate about Scott. Obviously, he's the one that counseled Lace and I early on in our marriage. Learned a couple things ministry philosophy wise from him. Only a couple. Not gonna give him full credit, but partial credit. No, one of the things that I appreciated, and even him and Sarah, he's said this on our podcast before about just recently needing counseling, just other people speaking into their marriage.
Yep.
Doing a marriage retreat for them. I think that's a huge misnomer, and you probably saw this not necessarily in the ministry realm, but like in your dad's job, like in the military, how much of what subconsciously you learned, and maybe you're even kind of pushing back against in your own life and your own marriage, came from a generation where they're like, it's lonely at the top. If you're in leadership, you don't have people you can trust, or like,
Yeah.
I know from my dad growing up as a pastor, like, or in a pastor's family, my dad being a pastor, that was a lot of, not necessarily taught, but I caught that in ministry.
Yeah.
Would it be the same in the military family, or I don't know. Like, I don't even know if that question.
It was different because my dad served 6 years active duty, and then pretty much since I've been alive, he's worked for the same company, and so we do everything like an active duty family did, but he, unless it was something like pretty basic, he didn't really talk too much about anything to us. Okay. Or like, he would tell my mom like, oh, well, this person's getting deployed, or like, this, that, and the other. But for the most part, like, he kept everything inside.
Yeah.
Or, would meet up with like he would meet up with like a counselor on base or something like that outside the family, outside of a church or anything like that. But he did meet up with them every once in a while. But like, it also kind of shifted me a little bit to the thinking of what a lot of men think of, like, you got to keep everything inside, and then it's going to kill you early. Let's die at 45 because we're so ingrained in never sharing anything ever.
Yeah.
No, I don't want that. So, I quickly realized, like, he is sharing with somebody. It's just not to us, which I don't love that. But at the same time, like, it's where he found comfort. Sure. And, but I knew, I was like, I want Shelby to be that person as much as she can. Sure.
Yeah.
There are things that she can't, like I can vent to her all day long and she'll never understand them, or, wouldn't be able to give any answers or ask any specialized questions or something like that. But, she, for, I would say like 90% of the things that I bring to her and vent to her about, like, it's just, she's the person I want to talk to.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
I think that answers your question.
What is one piece of advice, something you've learned, not that you have any students here that you've learned it from, but other youth groups that are worse than ours? No, what would one piece of advice be to parents who are raising kids, whether 6th grade to senior? Like, are there a few things that you're like, man, I've actually just been observing kids, and I mean, obviously you're a dad, but in youth ministry where you're like, oh, if parents could know this, or if parents could just nail this aspect, or whatever it is. Like, I don't know is there like one or two pieces of advice that you'd be like, oh.
I mean, I could say the same thing that I teach my leaders of, like, being there. Okay. If they have something that they are doing, be at the stinking event. Yeah. What I really want to say is don't get divorced unless it's absolutely necessary. That's what I really want to say.
What I want to say.
Because it teaches them so much more than what they think it's going to teach them.
Yeah.
But what my actual answer is going to be is... I thought I'd have it. No.
Just don't get divorced. That's the one.
That's what I really want to say. But no, what I actually want to say and what my actual answer I want to be is just spend time asking them about their day.
Yeah.
Super, super simple. Ask them about their day. Don't ask, how was your day good? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What'd you do today? Nothing. Like, actually ask them questions. And I don't have a teenager yet in my house, but I do speak to numerous amounts of teenagers. And if you just ask like those 3 basic questions of like, how was your day? How, what'd you do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Like,
yeah.
What are your plans for later today? Like, if you ask those like 3 questions every single day, I mean, that doesn't get anything from them.
Yeah.
Like, ask them about a funny story or ask them about something that's hurting them in the moment. Like, trust is built. It's not just, people don't just give it in one day, but like, you got to build it over time.
Yeah. There's nothing solidified that, like be there kind of a concept or just ask them. Then a while ago we had taken our girls to a funeral and their friends were dropped off by their parents at the funeral. And so we ended up hanging out with our girls and their friends and then driving them to the graveside, like all of that. So we're the ones, and then we get home and their parents just pick them up. And I'm like, that's one experience I don't think I'll ever forget where I'm like, what a more disconnected parent. Yeah. I know we've talked about that, but that to me, I was like, holy cow, what? Trying. I try my best to give grace and kind of get the parents' perspective. But in this one, I'm like, I have no grace on this one. Like, what in the world were the parents thinking?
Yeah.
Like that
one specifically, I have not a clue.
That's what I'm saying. Like that one, I'm like, okay, I understand. Understanding over here. But it's those types of things, like, it's not just the day in, day out be there, but it is those moments where it's like, these kids are going through a lot. I know growing up, I went through a lot.
Yeah.
And my youth pastor, I mean, I didn't want kids and I didn't want to get married until a youth pastor spent time with me.
Yep.
Gave of himself. He would invite me over to help him fix his bathtub. Like, I knew nothing. And so he actually invested knowledge into me.
How much did he invest into you? Because you still know...
Nothing.
Nothing. There you go.
I know a little bit. I know a little bit more than what I used to know.
The Jim Halpert.
And I've forgotten most of it though.
I couldn't fix a bathtub right now. If my bathtub broke, I guess.
Oh, I did. I just fixed mine.
Attaboy.
Yeah. I called a friend. I was like, hey. No. Here's what's funny. I
called a friend. He came over and fixed it. That's how I fixed it.
Yeah, that's how I fix it. That's how I make dinner. No, the faucet thing was leaking and it wouldn't turn hot or cold. When I would turn it hot, it would turn off.
Oh, yeah.
And so I called my father-in-law. I was like, what is going on here? Because I pulled everything out. Well, I pulled everything out, but the thing that I had pulled out needed to be pulled out, and then that needed to be pulled out, and then that needed to be replaced. It's like this, like within the thing. Yeah.
Heck
it's a Russian doll of bathtubs.
Bathtubs.
It's crazy. No, Yeah, I think I like that answer. Be there. Just be there. Ask those questions. Do you think parents avoid those questions though because they're like, well, what if they ask a question and I don't know the answer?
Yeah, 100%.
What do you do then? What do you do? Like, what would you advise in that situation where the parent's like, no, Kevin, like, what if they ask me this? Or what if we start talking about our divorce? What do I say?
My mom always said, honesty is the best policy. And there are questions that maybe none of us know the answers to.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, and we may never, ever know the answers to. But when it comes to like, I think, using your best judgment on, do I think a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old needs to know about a divorce? No.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
like age appropriate answers.
Yeah, give age appropriate answers. Yeah. But like do your best to be as honest and open as possible.
Do you think it's shame that usually like shame or guilt or condemnation?
It has to be. Whether they know it or not. The reason they don't want to ask those questions, or I don't know. There's a lot that plays into it. My upbringing was different than your upbringing. Mm-hmm. Your upbringing is different than Lacey's upbringing. Mm-hmm. Hers is different than the way Shelby was brought up. So I mean, there's a lot that plays into it. It could just be like this like generational not wanting to talk to their kids or learn more about their kids. I don't know. I've had someone say they never learn anything from. They really said they never learned anything from their wives, which is idiocracy. But you can.
So you're saying you're that bad of a picker? You picked a moron, right? I mean, like,
yeah.
If they don't learn anything from their spouse, you're the moron because you picked an idiot.
I guess.
I mean, like, I'm not saying the spouse is an idiot.
It was. I've never heard something so ludicrous in my life.
Yeah.
Because I learn constantly from Shelby.
Yeah.
Whether I want to or not,
she'll make me.
She'll teach me. No,
that's
not the way you do the dishes, Kevin. No, I'm kidding. She doesn't beat me too bad.
Where it leaves bruises.
Look at these armpits, though. No, but I don't remember where we were going, dadgummit.
Talking about like why parents don't take time, spend time, talk with their kids, and I think we were talking about just what if they ask questions? What if they say stuff that I don't know the answer to? Or
it comes back to fear, that. It ultimately it's fear. Like they're scared of the tough questions. They're scared of, well, what if my kid is actually going through something that I never experienced personally? Or what if my kid is going through something that I deem embarrassing? Yeah. What if my kid is going through
like their own perception of like a public, like how will other people think of me? Yeah.
Let's be honest, especially here in Burnet. Yeah. Like it. When I moved to Salado, which Salado is very similar to Burnet in the aspect of one of my friends came to me and was like, welcome to Salado. Everyone's going to know your business before you do. And it's true here in Burnet too. Like, even if they're just rumors, they spread really fast. And it's an unfortunate thing.
That's why I try to be the one to spread the rumor. So that way I get ahead of it.
Get ahead of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, you heard that it was me that did this? No, it was actually Kevin that did that. No.
No, I usually try to take the credit. Listen, good or bad, at least people are talking about me.
All publicity is good publicity, baby. I'm doing it for Freedom Ministries. Well, this is a sexual assault allegation. Oh, nope. That wasn't us. No, but I think it's there's a lot of it that plays into like fear of social status being changed. Or
how do you guard yourself knowing that is something parents struggle with? How do you and Shelby guard yourself against that in your own relationships or family or whatever, and even in your own job, like how do you guard against that?
Like guard against parents at the like
no
parents
you
coming
like
back at that.
like knowing that fear, looking at other parents, knowing fear is a reason they may not be intentional with their own kids. How do you and Shelby guard against fear kind of being the lead in your marriage or in parenting?
Yeah. One is just being open no matter what happens. You know, if I'm struggling with something, you know, I struggled with porn for a really long time. I haven't watched since 2017, but that doesn't mean that I don't have temptations at all or thoughts or something like that. And I mean, it's worst when I feel like the sense of abandonment. You know, we've just had a really bad fight. She's walked away. Like that temptation hits really hard. Like it you know, it wants to be there, you know, and I have to look my wife in the face and say, hey, I was tempted by this today because of this reason. And I mean, addressing it head on is the best policy too. Like being truly open with my spouse. And obviously I'm not going to tell my kids about that yet.
But even like being able to connect, I wanted to look at this because I'm feeling abandoned. Yeah. Like that's a huge connection piece that I wonder how many parents don't even track with that, you know?
Yeah. Once you can, it became extremely easy to avoid those, to not necessarily like block out those temptations, but like realize what it was as soon as I could put a face to the name, you know what I mean? Or a name to the face, whatever the expression is or whatever you want to call it. But like, I knew that it was a temptation, but I didn't know what was causing that. And I mean, that's a lot of you guys' work right there of like, hey, let's find this, that's a root. So let's find the brain or the
root of it.
Let's find the main root of it. This is just like a little side. This temptation is just, you know, an outlash of that. And so mine was abandonment of like my dad was gone a lot. I didn't really have him there to like, you know, teach me things that a man should be teaching his son. And he taught me a lot. And if he listens to this podcast, he'll probably say like, I taught you everything. No, he didn't, but it's fine. But
tell me how to be alone, Dad.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
He did. I was so very alone. No, but like abandonment was the root of it. And so like I still see versions of that to this day. It's not the same, but it is still the same thing. Yeah. And so addressing that as soon as I like I've already said, as soon as I could address it, then I knew how to combat it, you know.
How has learning that influenced the way you minister to students?
Everyone struggles with something. And so it really is putting, like I've already said, putting names to faces, faces to names, and hoping that they'll realize like, hey, the reason I'm drinking excessively, the reason that I'm taking these drugs, the reason that I'm watching pornography, the reason I'm doing this is because of this reason. This is just a side, this is just a trickle down effect of this reason, you know. And it's walking through that process with them, you know. And with female students, it's slightly different, but there's a lot of the same thing that female students struggle with that male students struggle with. I just only speak that in depth to male students.
Oh, okay, this gets me to another question or stream of thought. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. This is one of the many resources we make available for free at our website, cultivaterelationships.com. Our resources have helped people grow in their relationship with God and others. We've seen people set free from uncontrollable anger and paralyzing fear. We've witnessed estranged family members be reunited after working through our freedom booklet. We've helped people build healthy relationship and coping habits through our coaching videos, and all of these resources are made available for free because of the generous support of people like you. If you would like to become a partner, please visit cultivaterelationships.com/support. Now, I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. How do you guard against, like, what policies, procedures, or even personal, like, hey, these are my own personal thing, regardless of the church's policy? Like, how do you guard against the emotion of youth ministry? Sorry, my paper towel.
You're good.
The emotion of youth ministry, where you have a student who's just like, and going, I am not the one to deal with this. How do you
female students, I for sure
meet one-on-one with? That's a joke. That's a joke. I can't even let that one laugh.
I'm not even gonna say a word to it either.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
We've already been talking about sexual assault allegations.
Yeah.
No.
All three people who listen to this will be offended. Don't worry.
Watch, we're gonna look tomorrow. 25 million.
Yeah, this is the one that goes viral.
Youth pastor accused of sexual assault inside of. Oh god.
Oh goodness.
No. When it comes to a female student, I don't meet up with them one-on-one. And honestly, I don't do this every single time because it depends on the text that it is. Mm-hmm. Like, I got a question from one of our female seniors the other night that was like, hey, do we need to do anything extra for Senior Sunday? Mm-hmm. I didn't include my wife on that text because I was just like, hey, no, you're signed up, you're good to go. Like, there are people that would genuinely disagree with me not including my wife in every single text. I don't necessarily agree that it's a case by case basis. But if it is a conversation that's going to take more than just like
yes or no,
yes or no, I'm going to include my wife in it.
Yep.
Or she's going to see the whole text chain.
Yep.
So that there is literally no question.
Yep.
I don't think she's ever really had like a male student, but it would be the exact same way back, like if she responded back to a male student, she would immediately say, hey, I just said yes or no, like this, that, and the other. Nothing crazy. When it comes to social media, personally, I will let people follow me on Instagram. 9 times out of 10, if it's a female student, I'm not going to follow her back, unless it's someone that I'm extremely close with, that Shelby's really close with, and has kind of become like part of our family, if you will.
Right.
Or they're been graduated for a long time, and they are kind of like, doing a business or something like that, and they need more followers. I'll follow them. But, no, so it's just all about, staying above the anything that you could possibly be accused of. Yeah. And I don't ever want to leave room for questions.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do sometimes because not necessarily anything I say and do, I'm not looking for that.
Right.
But at the same time, people's interpretations of things that you do are vastly different than what you can mean to do sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of where I'm at.
No, that's good. No, I was just curious. I don't know. I've seen enough scandal. Not been a part of scandal. I've seen it.
Hear that, Lacey?
And
married a good one.
And I've had my own fair share. Don't worry.
I take it back, Lacey.
No, I think she doesn't listen to this anyways. No, I've seen enough stuff where, and I also know myself. I enjoy being stupid, and gotten to a point where if I feel like there's any kind of whatever, I tend to probably swing way to the opposite extreme, where I'll be probably a jerk. And so I don't know, like, yeah, I just, early on in our marriage, I was flirty, 30 and flirty.
30? Flirty.
No, I recognized early on, I had a tendency to not say no. Like, I had a hard time saying no. Obviously, as I've grown in freedom, confidence, you know, but it has been something where I'm like, no, I would rather err on the side of probably coming off as mean or a jerk than have anyone be able to say, oh,
Yep.
Nate and so-and-so, did you see that?
Yep.
Yeah, which, I mean, probably isn't helpful to our female team members if I come off as a jerk. But it's like, no, it's not that. And I'll do the side hug thing, you know?
I think as long as you're expressing, like, hey, I don't do this because, like...
Oh, no, I just go, knock it off. Get away from me, woman. You seductress. That's how I usually come off.
Definitely saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that wholeheartedly.
You're just an Eve. Deceived.
For those of you that are hurt super badly by Freedom Ministries, there is a spot open for you in the youth ministry to come serve, okay?
No, here's the thing. What people don't understand is it's job security.
Oh, yeah?
If people aren't offended, how do I have a job? And so I got to make sure I perpetuate hurt to free them up from it.
I'm looking to lose my job. You're just looking to keep building yours, huh? All those people that write checks to you. Send it to the youth ministry from now on, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Do you have anything else? Anything else you want to talk about?
Let's see. What would you... Anybody that watches this from Hill Country Fellowship, even if it is just 3 people, I am loving working at Hill Country Fellowship, and I want to stay here for as long as I'm welcome. But if...
This is like starting off with no offense.
No.
All due respect.
No, How would you say, like, when you guys moved down here from Alaska, or you moved into a different ministry or something like that? Now, granted, like, being a missionary full time is different than being on a pastoral staff full time.
Yeah.
How would you say you knew when it was time
to
search
do something else?
Yeah, even like search around.
Dude, for Lacey and I, here's what's really funny. For Lacey and I, it's always started off with like, kind of get like the rumblies in your tummy, like, I feel like something's going to change. Inevitably, every big decision that Lacey and I have made, we've made on a road trip. It's really funny. I think part of it is just that's the time her and I get to talk, and it's like a hostage negotiation because you can't go anywhere. Yeah. So you have to talk. No, it's truly come out of like, hey, I've been thinking about this. What have you been thinking about? And kind of in talk, you're like, oh. One great, really simple example of this is when we first came here. We attended a life group, and the life group leaders we had a huge group, so they're looking for other leaders, like to whatever, expand out or whatever. So I remember Lacey and I were talking, we were like, oh man, someone needs to take up the group. You know what I mean? Like, someone needs to take this over. And here's what's funny. From our house, which our life group is about 12 blocks away from where we live, from our house, the conversation started off with, someone needs to take this over, to 6 blocks in, maybe we should pray about this, to we pull up to the curb and we're like, we should probably tell them that we'll take it. Like, it's just that's a really small example of, I mean, we've had like road trips where the whole road trip, just in her and I mean, the kids will be doing stuff, but like, it started out with this guttural feeling, and then you just start talking. I have never, not once, woken up from a dream, gotten an epiphany, like a sign from heaven, nothing. It's always been in talking with her and that nudge, butterfly feeling. That's how it's happened with us. And then ultimately, you just have to make a decision and take the first step. And God will always direct and lead as you step out. I remember there was recently, about 6 years ago, we were praying about, Lacey had dreams. I had dreams. Like, I don't remember my dreams, but there's like 3 very vivid dreams that I had about us going back to Alaska. And so we started talking. We're like, what is going on here? And we're like, maybe we should pray about this, and maybe we should just, let's see what would happen if we started the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Anyways, within like a week, it was shut down hard. Like, nope. But here's the thing. We started it just to see where God might be leading, and he'll direct it. I truly have embraced the philosophy that God will direct us once we start moving. It's like steering a parked car.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than steering one that's moving. And I don't know, this is maybe just for me. Like, don't take it as a method for anyone else. But for me, recognizing, hey, I actually have to get up and start doing something, then God will lead. And I know there's plenty of people where God's telling them to, please don't take Nate's advice. I would like you to sit down and shut up. Like, that's what I'm saying. But for me, that's how it's been.
Are you speaking into a works-based faith right now?
People who, yes, correct. People who, like my wife, are a performance-based person. No, like, we're very open about this. I'm incredibly lazy and apathetic. And so often it's God telling me, can you please just start doing something?
Do something.
Anything. Get up and go to the bathroom. Something. And where with Lacey, it's like, I'm going to completely drain your adrenals so that you can't move. And so, we are stubborn in our own ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Does that answer your question?
That makes sense.
Okay.
In a Nate way, No, I'm kidding.
In a Nate way.
It makes sense. I mean, that was kind of Shelby and I's conversation the other day of like, how do you know? I mean, other than like, the praying into it and the, this is happening here, and like, I don't know. We just didn't even know when. Again, not looking at anything. Yeah. But it's better to be prepared or proactive than reactive, right? Yeah,
and I don't know. I think that's where, you got to be led by the Lord, and in your conversation, I don't even know if being prepared is necessarily the right way to say it. Our move down here, as an example, our move down here started with, we'd been at a Bible school for 4 years, prepping this class to deal with heart stuff. And we're like, we would love to see this as a ministry. That was the first thought. We would love to see this as a ministry outside of a classroom.
Yeah.
So I started talking with friends, and actually started talking with Scott saying, hey, we had three things on our list. One was we had to be in community. So we couldn't just go into a community where we knew no one. Right. We knew we need community. 2 is we wanted the sun. We were done with winter. And both of us really struggled with, is it seasonal affect disorder or whatever?
Seasonal depression?
Yeah, basically. Where, like, if it was dark and cold, and, like, the main season of the Bible school was dark and cold. Oof. And so we were, like, depressed the whole time we were supposed to be discipling. I don't know. And then there's a third one. I forget what the third one was. It had to be started out in a church. We knew it couldn't be a third-party
Fair enough.
ministry.
Yeah.
So we started talking to Scott. And Scott was like, man, we'd love to partner with you in that. So that took a couple weeks. And then I talked to a friend, and she's like, you need to make sure that you test the ceiling here. And I'm like, no, I've already made the decision. We're moving. And she's like, no, I think for your own security, you need to test the ceiling at the church that we were a part of. And I'm like, that's a terrible idea. I already got a clear way to go forward. We're doing this, And it was a good conversation. And so I finally met with the pastor and the executive pastor. And I'm like, hey, what would you think about us beta testing this ministry here at the church? And at the time, the church already had a ministry that we were already a part of.
Right.
But what we were developing was far more robust than what this current ministry dealt with. And I said, could we beta test it in replacing this ministry? And they're like, well, let's do it side by side and let's test it out like for 5 years, do a 5-year beta test and see if it's successful. And I go, hold on. First of all, we've already tested it in the Bible school arena and we already have success. Here's the stories that we have. 2, I'm co-director of that ministry that I'm currently leading. There's stories involved there. And they're like, well, we just haven't seen the fruit of this ministry of what you're developing. And I'm like, but you have this and this, like these 2 petri dishes, of examples. And it was one of those things where it was so funny. They had technically said, yes, I could beta test it there. But it was so funny. I walked away from that conversation going, nope, like that is not it. Like, anyways, so then finished off our transition to down here. But I don't know, there's just been a few lessons that I've learned of like God's promises in something that just because I feel like God has spoken a promise to me also means that other people might be involved. And so one example is we were going to look at a ministry and I knew God had spoken to me. And then all of a sudden it was like, nope, you're done. And I'm like, what is this? Like whiplash. And out of it, one of the directors made a comment to me afterwards about some stuff. And I was like, oh,
wow,
that's why.
That's cool.
God had a vision for me, but he's also working in other people. And if they don't want that, that's a no. So it doesn't mean the promise was wrong. It was, nope, it's contingent upon other people. So anyways, that was, I don't know. There's been a few lessons I've learned in managing transitions like that where I'm like, okay, it's not as cut and dry as we think the Bible story is, where it's 100%. Like God will come down from heaven and be like, here are the golden tablets. And then you start your own cult, It's not that clear. And
sounds great.
Right.
I haven't gotten my golden tablets yet.
So far, only one person has.
As long as they're 24 karat and I can sell them at Hoffy's here in town.
I think he only does plated.
That. Oh.
Yeah.
What a selfish God.
Stingy.
Please make it real.
Yeah. Did that answer your
real.
Did that answer your question?
No, it does. It does. I mean, it's always it's always fun to talk about, like, what God is going to do next season or plan on it, even though we're not, supposed to be talking about, days to come. But like,
why can't we?
Well, we're not supposed to worry about tomorrow when tomorrow
it's not worrying about it.
When today has its own worries.
No, that's not worrying, though. I mean, maybe just for you, sinner. No, what is it? Man plans their path and God directs them, or man directs their path and God... I don't know. I don't remember what the Bible verse is. There's a Bible verse. Somewhere in the Bible it says...
I don't know that one, but...
I think it's a proverb.
It's probably not in the Bible.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Now I gotta find the verse. It's the one where man plans his steps, but...
I think this is just a Hobby Lobby sign that you saw.
Hey, there it is. Ha!
What is it?
Proverbs 16:9. Nope. Hold on.
No, type in
their
Hobby
hearts.
Lobby signs.
In their hearts. I like Hobby Lobby. They're a Christian organization. A heart of man plans his ways, but the Lord establishes his steps. That one. That's the one. Where, like, I think the idea of, like, planning... Jesus speaks to this about discipleship. It's an idiot who takes a job without planning it. Right? He goes, just like a person building something doesn't count the costs. So I think there's something to planning. I think what you're talking about, though, is the idea of... but what if this doesn't happen? Oh, but what about this? And what about that? And, like...
Yeah.
There's a step from moving to, hey, I want to dream into this and plan.
Yeah.
into God's not in control and I have to be.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something that Shelby and I have been
Batting around just a little bit.
Yeah. Like it was a simple conversation the other day. Like we were driving to Marble Falls. Yeah.
What's your like 10-year like big? Do you have a big like plan? Like not plan, dream. Like oh my goodness, in 25 years this would be cool. For this
25 years? God,
10 years. Do you know what you're doing for breakfast tomorrow?
No. I don't need to worry about it tomorrow.
Oh my goodness. I planned my breakfasts out very meticulously.
Do you really?
I mean, I usually have breakfast meetings. So, yeah.
Like with people? Like that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
So,
like
I plan where I'm going.
If I had breakfast meeting, no, my tomorrow morning is going to look like 9 times out of 10, like that is the best way for me to serve Shelby is like I'm an early morning riser. She is a sleep in till as late as possible. And so
Those people are called lazy.
I will not be saying that on here.
Is Shelby going to listen to this later?
Probably. That is, but I also go to sleep significantly earlier than Shelby.
Oh.
And I can sleep. I can fall asleep anywhere, any place, anytime, no matter what.
I burn the candle at both ends. Is that the saying?
Go to bed late and wake up early?
Yeah.
Sounds terrible for your health.
I love it.
What do you have to lose?
I'm dying anyways.
We all are.
It's worked for me so far. Eat your heart out, doctors, when I was 1.
And make a wish.
Yeah. David Hasselhoff. Ha! Joke's on you.
I can't believe you met David Hasselhoff. Anyway.
Did you? Oh, this is totally random. Sorry, I'm talking to some friends of ours whose son has cystic fibrosis. He's like one of the last kids to do a Make-A-Wish because they've officially removed cystic fibrosis off the Make-A-Wish
You're
list.
kidding.
Oh.
Even though it's a terminally...
Apparently not for kids anymore. Because Make-A-Wish is under 18.
Well, I know. How is it not still...
Because they're...
A terminal disease?
It is, just they've bumped up, it's past 18 now. Unless you're the Austin clinic, then they don't even have an adult clinic yet, so... That's how you know if it's a good clinic or not. If they have an adult clinic, you're like, hey, at least their patients are making it into adulthood. If they just have a pediatric clinic, you're like,
I see what you're saying.
hard pass.
I see what you're saying. That's good.
Oh man. No, like do you and Shelby have like a 10, 15-year dream where you're like, man, one day we want to do this or be doing that?
You know, I don't know if we've talked about like 25 years, but 5 years down the line, we always, at least since we've had the boys, we've kind of been like, we'll sit there and say like, oh, well, they're going to be this age now and this age now. And I want and need to go back to school. And it's for nothing more than this might be considered selfish. I don't know, but like, I really want to finish that, and I have already put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it, and so like a personal goal for me right now is looking into colleges and finding which one is going to best, suit and take the hours that I have already put in, the money that I've already put in, and I think for Shelby it's something similar of wanting to go back to school and finish up and. We'll still do different things I still want to be in ministry and she's still wanting to support me, but and she'll want to, whether it's keep working here at the church or do something else, I don't know.
Are you looking at something that would be like online that you could do, or like more of a 2-week? I know they do like there's a school that does like 2 or 4 week for ministry where it's like these modulars.
So funny enough is Howard Payne in Brownwood does modulars. Okay. And you pay significantly less. Than what you would for a full semester. I mean, it's a full semester, but you know what I mean? Like then you having to go to class every other day or every day, whatever it may be. And then they call it a 4+1 program. So I I have everything but essentially my senior year of college.
Okay.
Left to do.
Okay.
Or not left to do, but I've done everything up until like my senior year of college. And so I've talked to some of the advisors over there, and they've said, hey, what we'll do is we'll just put you in a program. It'll take, another year to finish out your undergrad stuff. And then it'll take about a year, 2 years, depending on how much time you want to spend in the classes, to finish your master's degree as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it's almost like a no-brainer. You might as well go and do the master's degree while I'm already there,
Right.
and it bumps the price. They have it worked out to where it's very inexpensive, but I know that, Colorado State.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one our church is connected
Yeah.
with, right?
They give really good discounts to us as well. And so it's just, it's pricing it out and finding if they're going to.
What do you want to do a degree in?
I mean, something in ministry, but like, that's the thing. This is very early on in like a dream.
You'd said
plan.
practical theology?
I did practical theology.
Is that a degree?
It is, yeah. There's just a study of religions, essentially. That's all it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want to create this is...
Oh, you want to create one, huh?
I want to create a course.
Okay.
In the back of my head, I was going to call it like practical theology or something to that effect.
Uh-huh.
That's why I was curious I was like, oh, what is that? Because it's basically, how you have systematic theology, where a bunch of nerds get together who don't actually live this out,
Yes,
and have affairs on their wives, but they create a systematic theology book.
You're basically the thing your dad and a lot of other pastors went to.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Exactly. Anyways, I want to create like a practical theology course. That's why I want to call it that, where it's like, no, this is not systematic. This is you go through Scripture going, how does this line up with a Christian's lifestyle? Because I think a lot of times systematic theology is like, this is so that we know everything about God and who he is and how he fits into this box.
Right.
Rather than going, okay, when I look at the stream of Scripture, the whole narrative of Scripture, what does this mean for my life? How do I live this out? Biblically, but not systematically, if that's
fair.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've always wanted to create a course in that way where no matter what book of the Bible you're studying, it's always going through, okay, but what are the practical principles that a Christian should pick up from this? Yep. Whether it's Habakkuk to Revelation. Obviously, it starts with Genesis, but minor prophet.
I know what you
obscure,
meant.
yeah.
I know what you meant. What a random book to pick, though.
Habakkuk?
Have you been in Habakkuk recently?
Habakkuk.
But that's such a random one to
It's
go
like one of my
Habakkuk to Revelation.
It's one of my favorite minor prophets. I love Habakkuk. Yeah.
Hold on. We're not just going to move along on the fact that is such a random book to pick. Instead of literally just saying from Genesis to Revelation.
Yeah, because I was like thinking obscure, but here's why I love Habakkuk, is it has 2 times in Habakkuk, multiple times, but then it says it explicitly twice. I do not desire the blood of bulls and goats, but of a broken or contrite heart. And then he says this, he goes, you are going after these other countries trying to ask them for salvation, and yet you go home and cry on your beds because you've never known me. And he says, because you don't know me because you speak lies against me. It's a very specific thing that God is dealing relationally with Israel.
Yeah.
That I'm like, man, how true is it? See, this is what I'm saying, though. Why don't I go to God when I'm struggling? Because I believe lies about him. So why would I go to him? Like, that's what I mean by practical theology.
Yeah.
I could look at how Aaron acted in the wilderness, and it's like, I threw gold in there, and then a golden calf came out. But the practical theology of that, where it's like, I've never owned an idol before. Okay, how's social media going? Like, you know what I mean? Anyways, that's what I mean by, I think it'd be so cool to do a practical theology.
Your idol right off the bat, fishing.
My idol?
Yeah, obviously.
No, that is a demon that I have killed in my life. It is
the urge to catch fish is still very, very alive.
No, the urge to be valued and confident in my life is the thing. I have to be born.
Man.
Oh, dude. Thanks for sitting down and chatting, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, buddy. Hopefully we get to do it again, but I don't know. Maybe after listening back, you're going to be like, nah, this guy sucks. So,
You know what's really funny is I actually never rewatch.
really?
Yeah. Even in editing, I'll go to breaks, like cut point breaks.
Uh-huh.
But I don't edit, and I just, it's kind of like freestyle and let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah. So, thanks for talking. I appreciate it.
I was gonna say
Here's the thing. I usually get feedback from other people like, hey, you probably shouldn't have released that one. And I'm like, oh, what did it happen?
Well, we're probably going to get that one.
I think we've talked about worse.
Yeah. Oh, no, we for sure have.
No. On the podcast. I'm pretty sure I've talked about
okay.
worse.
I was like, yeah, we
Yeah, we have.
100% have.
Someone was, I have a group text with several of my friends, and then my brothers are kind of lumped into it.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, we need to turn our text thread into a podcast. That would be hilarious. I go, it would be. Also, it would be one of those where it's anonymous and the voices are changed.
Yeah.
And there's
You wouldn't be sitting in front of the camera. You'd be doing this whole number.
blurred faces. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be funny. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. And all joking aside, really, really have appreciated you as a youth pastor. You and Shelby. Really appreciate the time and energy, effort that you guys do pour into students. Obviously, selfishly, our girls in particular. But no, you're both of your ability to prioritize the relationship over. I don't mean this disparaging to anyone, but over like ministry philosophy or ministry methods. Both you and Shelby truly value relationship over anything else.
Yep.
And no, just really appreciate you guys. Appreciate you coming on the podcast, and enjoyed talking with you and shooting the breeze.
Let's do it again, never.
Hey, I look super forward to not doing this again. All right. Goodbye.